Question of the week. With that, our question of the week comes from, I'm going to butcher this because it's another Irish name, Padder MacMathuna, where Padder MacMathuna over on the casual game community over on Facebook, where you too can get in on the question asking action, much like our Discord and much like the comments down below. He has asked, with the announcement of Insomniacs Wolverine, which came out a couple of weeks ago, but we don't know much more about it since, so I still think this is relevant. Do you think it's in safe hands? What are your hopes for it? Now, let's keep this kind of tight, but I thought it was an interesting one because we all, like you talked about Spider-Man earlier, Pezzo, you know, like I talked about it too, and Shane, I know you loved it. What do we think? Like when we saw that, like Wolverine sitting at a bar and Insomniac's name came across, what were our feelings?
Like if it's anything like The Last of Us, Insomniac is Last of Us, isn't it?
No, Insomniac is Spider-Man and
Spider-Man, okay.
And not Injustice, what's it called, Shane? The PS4
Infamous.
game? Infamous, thank you.
Oh,
Infamous, yeah.
Like, yeah, sorry, Spider-Man. Yeah, you said that.
And Ratchet and Clank.
Okay, maybe they won't do a good job.
You don't have Ratchet and Clank? What?
No, I think they'll do a good job with it. I personally, I'm a big DC Comics fan, and I don't find Wolverine that interesting, even though like the movies did make the last movie made him interesting. I just find sometimes it depends on who he's going to go up against.
Yeah.
You know, are we going to see Magneto, and are we going to see is it going to be like Suicide Squad where you get this random selection of X-Men that he's going to go up against? How gory is it going to be? Because the R-rated Wolverine is way more interesting.
I think that's the biggest question on everybody's mind is like Insomniac Spider-Man. Although having replayed it, there is some cutscenes there where some people do get offed. And in a gruesome sense, like not to spoil anything, but it's pretty well known. Like Miles Morales' dad, that whole thing is pretty heart-wrenching. But but in general, like Spider-Man, when you kick a guy off a roof, he sticks to the side of the wall. Like he there's no killing. You know what I mean? It's not like Batman, where it's like he clearly killed that man. You know,
he just cripples them.
Yeah, exactly. Like Spider-Man is super friendly, where it's just like, you know, yes, I kicked him in the face, but I just webbed him to a wall. You know, whereas Wolverine is like the next level. That's like his whole thing is dismemberment and disemboweling, you know, and like I know Hugh Jackman did a lot of work in terms of like, you know, showing us on the silver screen how we can do that without necessarily killing anyone. But I think like if you were to do this game, like could you play that for 20 hours and not kill someone and be happy?
I don't think I'd be happy with just hearing the shing off people's like regular clothes.
Yeah. Or what if it's like all robots? You only ever fight robots. Like would we be satisfied with that? Because that always rubs me the wrong way.
I have a feeling because from that little teaser they'll probably do something with his brother. Is it Sabretooth?
Sabretooth.
They'll probably do something with him.
Are they brothers or are they just like blood brothers?
Oh, they're like adopted brothers or something.
Something like that.
Yeah. But I have a feeling they'll go somewhere with that line. It just from them being in the little cabin again. That just reminds me of that. But it really comes down.
Like it seems like it's set in like the 70s or the 60s or something, doesn't it? Like so.
Yeah, because he doesn't age and all the rest of it. Like I don't. It depends on who they need to kind of announce the villain, and that'll get me interested because it'll be like, do I want to go up against him? Like with Batman, it's the Joker. It's like, oh, I can't wait to see Mark Hamill play the Joker again. You know, like, and that gets you excited. But I don't know who Wolverine's going to go up against, and if it's all robots, it's going to be off.
Now, I think we talked about a couple of points there, but like, and Shane, I'll get to you now, but like my only take on this is that I played through Spider-Man twice, recently on the PS5, and after I played Spider-Man, I went straight into Miles Morales, and that honestly was it was a noticeable improvement on the first game. Shorter, yes, but it was a better moment-to-moment game, and I was super impressed by that. I was like, wow, because like I literally played the one before, like an hour before I booted up the other one, and I just couldn't get over it. I was like, wow, this team has really found their stride here in terms of the superhero open world. Like many people have tried doing Spider-Man games and have failed with the feeling of it, and it just didn't get there and whatever. They nailed it, and then they improved on it. So like I think in terms of, and I loved Ratchet and Clank, the last one that came out, like, you know, full disclosure, and I always loved Infamous. So like I think that team in particular has kind of bought a lot of trust from me, where I can kind of go, I trust these guys to put in the effort to at least make it well observed. You know, like it's not going to be a cash grab. It's not going to be they just don't get Wolverine. Like I think at the very least it will be well observed, and that will probably be enough for me to get it. You know,
I just don't think the open world will work as Wolverine. Like, how will you travel around quickly?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, is it going to be vehicles? It just doesn't seem to work with that particular.
It'll be interesting to see where they go for sure. Like, you know, do you just suddenly learn how to climb walls? It's just like, oh, I've had these claws all my life, but like, oh look, I can climb a wall now. You know?
It would be great.
But Jim, what do you think, dude? Like I know you love Spider-Man, but like,
yeah, well, like my first question or my first thought would be, we don't know if this is open world. We're just assuming because of Spider-Man. Like, I mean, Rift Apart and Ratchet and Clank games are fairly linear. Like, you can jump from planet to planet, but when you're on that planet, they're fairly linear to a degree, with a few open areas.
Sandboxy.
Yeah, sandboxy. Because similar, I'm expecting something similar to the most recent Tomb Raider trilogy. You know, it was kind of like very linear corridors into little sandboxy areas, back into linear corridors again. Yeah. That's what I would expect from Wolverine game. And I think that would be
a strong move, yeah.
Yeah, and I do believe, much like yourself, Phil, that Insomniac have the chops to do a great game. The only thing I would be worried about is not the standard of the game. Is it a game that will appeal to me when it comes out? Is there going to be too many suits involved? Or like, it has to be 12s. It has to feature this. It has to do this because it's Wolverine.
It's
and
a possibility.
A big name, you know.
It is a possibility, and like, you know, it is straight up. Oh wait, who owns So
it's
Disney.
The
X-Men were Fox, and they got bought by Disney, so it is Disney. And the last one was Sony / Disney. But like, yeah, like it could always happen when Disney's involved. It could always happen. But I think like you would hope that after the last Spider-Man games, that, you know, Insomniac has shown, like, just let us run with this. Like, you know, we know what we're doing. We would hope that the money would be clever enough to see that. But yeah, 100%. I do think the linear approach would be great. I think, like, you know what, like, let's look at recent example here. Like, Marvel's Avengers, terrible game. And then the same publishing house puts out Guardians of the Galaxy, which is a linear experience, and people are falling over themselves saying it's way better than I ever expected it to be. And like, that format could be the video game equivalent of the snackable Marvel movie every year. You know what I mean? Like, that could be, we get another Marvel experience every year that's like a linear based video game, and you play through it and you eat your popcorn and you're happy, you know?
If it went from, like, it started off as him as a kid, and he just got his powers, and it's you learning how the buttons work, and then later on he gets his adamantium, so he's a little bit stronger. But like, he's just not one of those superheroes that you can upgrade. You know, like Spider-Man has all his gadgets and stuff, so you can all constantly.
That's very true. Yeah, that's very
true.
So
I'm just thinking it's a tough character to approach. So it would be interesting.
Here's the thing, right? I think. And I get where your head's at, because my head was there too. And I was like, how does he just all of a sudden learn all of these abilities? You know, like, I've been Wolverine for 30 years at this point, but in this last week I've learned 16 abilities. You know, like, it makes no sense. But what I've thinking about it is, if they're doing a timeline piece, that would be a very good way, as you said, to do it. Maybe he's a child and he's learning about his healing factor and he's learning about his speed. And then the beauty of this, right, is that I've always said that the X-Men are I'm not a comic book guy, but like, the X-Men are the most wasted franchise in comic books, because they have the best roster of individual people who can all do their own things and have their own stories, and they touch on social issues, and it's so underutilized. And in doing so, they all train each other and stuff. They all, like, you know, like X-Man or Dr. X's, whatever, Professor X's academy, like, it's all about training them. And even when they're not there, they're being trained by other mutants, and they're all trying to survive, so they're helping each other survive. I imagine that there will be many scenarios, kind of like that Web of Shadows game from Spider-Man, where you're going to meet other heroes, and they're going to, like, impact knowledge upon you, and you're going to train with them, and maybe that's how, over time, he kind of learns how to be himself or whatever. And also maybe going to war. I'd love to see that. I'd love to see, do you know the way, like, Logan he served in the army or whatever? I'd love to see, like, you know, some Medal of Honor type stuff with Logan. That'd be class.
Yeah. Isn't now, correct me if I'm wrong, isn't that bar scene as well, is that when Stryker is getting him to join the team in, like, the 70s?
Possibly.
Something in the bar. Like, the bar scene, I think, is important to the story. I think that's why they showed it, because it was in the movies. I think twice in the movies. Once in a little clip where he tells them to F off, and then the other one was actually in his own movie.
Yeah, I think that's like a formative scene in the comics. I couldn't guarantee that because I'm not a big comic book guy, but like, yeah, I think you're right. They do reuse that for a reason.
Yeah, so, there was a big bar scene in X-Men Origins Wolverine, the really terrible film, but there was a thing in that where, like, you know, he hulks out and kills half the patrons at the bar, and he's like, you know, all this kind of stuff happens. And then you're right, there is X-Men First Class where the two guys approach him, Professor X and Magneto approach him about joining the team, and he's like, "Say your hook."
Yeah. That is good stuff.
Yeah. It's hard to know. I feel like they'll probably come from the point, which it's probably going to happen a lot with Wolverine. They're probably going to come from the whole Weapon X program striker thing, where it's going to be like the bulk of it is probably going to be you fighting like striker soldiers and stuff like this, and Weapon X mutants. A bit like the X-Men Origins Wolverine game on the PS3, I believe, which wasn't actually a bad game.
That was a decent game, yeah.
It was decent, but it was like, you know,
repetitive.
And you buy a new like power up, and it's like, okay, all of a sudden he can do like a whirlwind attack where he puts out the claws and spins around, or it's like buying fighting moves.
When it's an arcade game, though, you don't really care. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
It's a different thing. But look, guys, I think we probably said enough. I think like let's just be cautiously optimistic. Let's wrap it up that way. But I think that the chops are there, but there's a lot of factors that could mess it up. So, Patter, I don't know if that answer is going to satiate you or not, but it is an answer all the same. Now, guys, with that, we have been talking here long enough, and thank you so much, first of all, to Pezzo of All Cast Irish Gamers for sticking with us for this hour and a half plus. Pezzo, where can people find you and all of your compadres or whatever, if they want to?
Cool. So you can check out us at All Cast Irish Gamers on YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. We stream. We had a big mad party stream there last weekend, which was great.
I saw that.
And then obviously we have the Geeks for Weeks and the Hertz Nerds podcast. And then Mignon at the moment is finishing Dead Space on like the most hardest mode.
Nightmare
available.
Or something.
Nightmare or something like that at the moment on Twitch. And then YouTube is just at the moment we're using it for just putting any streams or any highlights of streams down on that as well.
Yep, so you can be found pretty much anywhere you'd expect to find these things. Yeah, fair play. And it is great stuff, guys. I would highly recommend joining in and having a look. And I assume when the event circuit starts happening again, we can probably expect to see you guys back in your suits and back out there in the crowds. Fingers
crossed. Just want to get the camera out and go film, and that's what I'm looking forward to.
I was saying it to Shane in the green room before you joined us. I bought a gimbal today, and like, I'm just like, I'm going to get out there and I'm going to meet the people and I'm going to share my love of geeky crap with everyone. But yeah, I can't wait to join you on that. And we must like, you know, get the band together here at some point. If there is an event coming up, we must get on that. But Pezzo, as always, it is a pleasure, and I hope we have you back again soon. And Shane, where can people find you?
People can find me sitting in this chair talking to you every Thursday on your podcatcher of choice on
every
YouTube.
Monday.
Well, we record on a Thursday. Sorry, I sit here every Thursday. In my world, it's Thursday.
Yeah.
In listener world, it's Monday.
Yes.
You can find me in this chair every Monday. And I'm just gonna like really badly dub over Monday over Thursday when I said it a minute ago. Just like really
it's
poorly.
Like the Monty Burns thing, where like, you know, it's just you put the coffee mug over your mouth, go, Mr. Burns.
Yeah, exactly. On YouTube, on podcatchers of choice, we are the Casual Gamecast. On all our socials, we are Casual Game Co. That's your Twitters and your Instagrams and your whatnots. We are Casual Game Community on Facebook, which you can jump into and chat with people, post things about video games, post memes, have a laugh, post news articles, have a chat with people. There's a great bunch of people in there who love to talk about video games. So go join them, go have a chit chat. You can find, we're not really doing a lot of Twitch at the moment, but we are there.
Excuse you, I was just about to say, okay, I have spent the last week doing up and reinstating the Twitch channel because we moved away to give YouTube a try. It wasn't really fantastic. I think you kind of need to have been bought by YouTube for like 50 million to actually make that work. So Instead, we're going to go back to Twitch, and I'm personally going back in a kind of I want to like just mess around and do my own thing. So you can find me, and if Shane or anybody wants to join me, they're more than welcome, of course, at twitch.tv. Sorry, is it Twitch? It is, yeah. Twitch.tv /Philiopius. That's twitch.tv /PHILIOPIOUS. Run, don't walk, folks. But yeah, by the time you hear this, we should have some streams up. I'll be on this weekend. So by the time this hits on Monday, go over there, follow the channel if you want to know when we go live, and watch a VOD or two to see if it's for you. But Shane, thank you so much for listing out the socials so I don't have to. It's great.
Let's wrap this up. I have a gaming addiction to get back to.
I'm shaking, man. I'm shaking. I need my fix. But with that being said, thank you guys. I have been Phil, and I have of course been joined by the lovely Shane and the wonderful Pet. So take care, be safe, but most of all, stay casual. Good night.
Goodbye. God bless.
Bye.